Sunday sauce, or as some affectionately call it, Sunday gravy. It's an Italian classic that demands time and respect. It's tradition, ritual, and pure unfiltered love in a pot. You don't rush this. You let it simmer, bubble, and whisper its secrets into the air, filling your kitchen with that kind of aroma that draws people together like moths to a flame. The real magic is simple: great ingredients and the patience to let them transform into something extraordinary. I'm Aaron Walker, and this is Beyond the Burner. Start by throwing your sausages on the grill or under the broiler. Let them char and blister for about 15 minutes. You want them browned and dignified, but not overdone. Set them aside. They've got a bigger role to play later. Next are the meatballs. This will definitely be the most time-consuming part of the recipe besides simmering and stirring later on. First, preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 205 degrees Celsius. Take a large, unwieldy bowl, tossing your ground meat, breadcrumbs, eggs, Parmesan cheese, garlic, herbs, and whatever makes you feel like you're channeling your nana. Mix it all together, but don't manhandle it. Meatballs are delicate creatures, not hockey pucks. But seriously, just mix it until it comes together. Overmixing the meatballs will create a tough, dense ball of meat. As a quick side note, the reason why I have so much meatball mixture is because I was making 5 times recipe for this video. After it's mixed, lightly grease a baking sheet. Don't skip this unless you enjoy scraping stuck meatballs off with a spatula. Then, roll your meatballs about 2.5 inches or 6 1/3 centimeters in width and line them up spaced out like soldiers about 1 inch apart on the tray. Finally, bake until they're light brown and kissed by the oven, but don't let them go all the way. These beauties are destined to finish cooking in the sauce, where they'll soak up all that rich Italian magic. Set them aside for the time being. To make this sauce is to honor its history. It's a reminder that good things, great things, take time. And once you've truly tasted it and experienced it, the idea of settling for anything less will feel like sacrilege. This dish is tradition, memory, and love simmered low and slow. A rich velvety sauce crafted with pork, beef, and veal, infused with the vibrant depth of San Marzano tomatoes and layered with the essence of fresh herbs. Here's everything you need to know to make red sauce that will ruin store-bought stuff for you forever. The first step is to heat some olive oil in a large pot or saucepan. Medium heat because patience matters. Once it shimmers, toss in your holy trinity of celery, carrot, and onion. Season generously with salt and pepper. Stir and let them sweat until the onions turn translucent and the veggies soften. Think gentle breakdown, not mush. Next, add your garlic and tomato paste. Stir it like you mean it, letting the tomato paste go from a cherry bright red to a moody rusty brown. That's the flavor happening right in front of you. Once the tomato paste is cooked through and a fond has begun to develop at the bottom of the pan, it's ready for the wine. Fond is the stuff that sticks to the bottom of the pan as your veggies and tomato paste cook and caramelize. When ready, pour in the red wine. Don't skimp, this is your deglazing moment. Scrape up all the crusty goodness stuck to the bottom of the pot. That's the soul of the sauce. Now, add the water. This will bring everything together and further deglaze the pan if necessary. Then, bring it to a boil, drop the heat, and let it simmer for about 30 minutes. Stir occasionally, don't let it think you've forgotten about it. In the meantime, I like to create a sachet for the herbs that aren't as pleasant to chew on while you're enjoying your sauce. Things like rosemary, thyme, bay leaf, and black peppercorn. You can throw them in whole, resulting in the same effect, but I find retrieving the sachet easier than searching for any inedible parts of my herbs. For the more palatable fresh herbs such as marjoram, oregano, and basil, just chop them up and reserve them for later with the others. After it's simmered, add the tomatoes. Whole San Marzanos if you have them, or else blanched concassed Roma tomatoes will do in a pinch. However, you will need more tomatoes and will likely need to puree the sauce if you're using Romas. After the tomatoes, add your fresh herbs. Season again and bring it all back to a boil. Then reduce the heat to medium, mixing your fresh herbs and make sure your sachet is completely saturated with the sauce around it. Partially cover and let it simmer for about an hour. Stir occasionally and let the flavors mingle like they're at a party you weren't invited to. Parmesan cheese is one of those things that rarely leads you astray, except of course if you're in Italy and thinking of putting it on seafood. Don't do that. But when it comes to red sauce, oh, that's a whole different story. Toss in a rind or two from the cheese you put in the meatballs, let it melt, and watch as it transforms your sauce into something deeper, richer, and undeniably better. It's like a secret weapon of umami, a reminder that sometimes the simplest moves in the kitchen are the most profound. Now, it's finally time. Introduce the sausages and meatballs to the sauce. Stir them in gently, making sure they do not break. Let them simmer gently, partially covered for about 2 hours. This is the final home stretch. Be sure to stir occasionally, or even frequently, checking that the sauce doesn't burn or stick as the delicious flavors meld together. Once the sauce has simmered with the meat, lower the heat to just below a simmer, only to keep it warm. Boil your choice of pasta. My favorite is rigatoni, so I used that. Cook the pasta al dente, drain, and return the pasta to the empty pot you cooked it in. Stir in a small amount of the sauce to the pasta, not enough to eat, just enough to coat the pasta. Then, plate the lightly sauced pasta. Serve the Sunday sauce immediately over the pasta, or straight from the pot into a bowl if you've had that kind of day. Top it generously with freshly grated Parmesan cheese and chiffonade basil, and enjoy! As for any extras, you can cool it down and stash it in the fridge or freezer to save it for when you need a culinary hug. It keeps very well both refrigerated and frozen. I like to freeze it in single portions for quick, delicious meals. Thanks for joining me on another episode of Beyond the Burner. If you enjoyed this and found something useful, go ahead and hit that like button. If you're passionate about exploring bold flavors and great food, consider subscribing for more. Got a recipe or cuisine you'd love to see featured? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I'll see you next week, and as always, stay hungry.